Hello friends, welcome to UPSC Cracker and we're gonna do chapter 1 structure of India. So this I have done on based on notes which I have made, and let's begin. The first one is the Archean formation, which is the Precambrian as well. It is known as Precambrian, and the Archean era was also known as the Precambrian era. The division of geologic timescale from the formation of Earth, which was around 4.6 billion years ago. So the Earth was formed around 4.6 billion years ago to the beginning of Cambrian period of the Paleozoic era. So this is the division of the timescale, the Precambrian era we are talking about, and this is between the formation of the Earth and the Cambrian period of the Paleozoic era, which was around 570 million years ago. So the Precambrian time constitutes around 86.7% of Earth's history. And the term Archean, introduced by J.D. Dana in 1782. This term Archean was introduced by J.D. Dana, and it refers to the oldest rocks of the Earth's crust. So the oldest rocks of the Earth's crust are found in the Precambrian era. The oldest known rocks of the Earth, the evolutionary atmosphere, the first chemosynthesis, the first photosynthesis, the life-supporting atmosphere, and the Earth's modern atmosphere were developing during the Precambrian era. So during this era, all the various features of the Earth were developing, like the atmosphere, chemosynthesis, photosynthesis, life-supporting atmosphere. Everything was being developed during this era. So this was the very beginning of time, you can call it. Rocks of the Archean system are devoid of any form of life. So at that point of time, there was no life form, so there is no fossil. They are azoic or unfossilous, or they don't have any fossils in them. They are thoroughly crystalline, extremely contorted and faulted, and practically devoid of any sediment. Since these are very, very old rocks, so they have become, due to pressure and passing of time, they have become very crystalline and contorted and faulted, and they are devoid of any sediments as well. They are largely intruded by plutonic intrusions and generally have well-defined foliated structure. So their structure is foliated, and they have got a lot of plutonic intrusions amongst them. These rocks are known as basement complex of fundamental gneisses. So these are the very basic fundamental rocks which form gneisses, and they cover 2/3 of the peninsular India. So you can very well imagine how old the Indian continent is. In the peninsular region, the Archean rocks are known to be of 3 well-defined types. So there are 3 well-defined types of Archean rocks which are found, which are the Bengal gneiss, the Bundelkhand gneiss, and the Nilgiri gneiss. So let us have a look at all these 3. So first comes the Bengal gneiss, and it occurs in Eastern Ghats, Orissa, where it is known as Khodolites, after Khond tribes in Kiratpur and Bolangir districts, stretching over Manbhum in Hazaribagh districts of Jharkhand, Nellore district of Andhra Pradesh, and Salem district of Tamil Nadu. So you can see that it is found mainly in the lower parts of India, and they're found in the Eastern Ghats, then Orissa till this area, and then Jharkhand also they are being found, Andhra Pradesh, yes, and Tamil Nadu. So basically this part of India is all Bengal gneiss. And they occur in Son Valley, Meghalaya Plateau, and Makir Hills. So they further extend up somewhere around this place is also all Bengal gneiss. They are very thinly foliated in structure, and these rocks were first identified in Midnapur district of West Bengal. So this is a question for MCQs. Where was Bengal gneiss first discovered? So this was discovered in Midnapur district of West Bengal. And the Bundelkhand gneiss. So This is the second group of fundamental glyphs of the Archean age, and it occurs in Bundelkhand, Bagelkhand, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. So if you look at the map, suppose this is India. So this region, basically this region they generally belong to, the Bundelkhand gneiss. And it is a coarse grained gneiss which looks like granite. So it looks like granite, it is a coarse grained gneiss. And it is conspicuously crisscrossed and characterized by quartz veins. So suppose this is a gneiss and it is coarsely grained, so it has got quartz vein. These are quartz vein. The Nilgiri gneiss, and the name was given in honor of Job Charnock, whose tombstone in Calcutta was made of this rock. Job Charnock, we know, was the guy who made Calcutta in 1690, established Calcutta, and Fort William was in 1696, just for information sake. And they are bluish gray to dark colored rock, and they are medium to coarse grained in texture. And this is a plutonic gneiss including into the other Archean rock masses. So this is basically, this introduced into other Archean rock masses. And Nilgiri gneiss is popularly recognized as belonging to Chamconite series. So it belongs to the Chamconite series, and it is widely found in South Arcot, Palni Hills, Chevroy Hills, Nilgiri in Tamil Nadu, Nellore in Andhra Pradesh, Balasore in Orissa, Karnataka, Kerala, Malabar, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh and Aravali. So basically it is mostly covering this particular area. And these are repositories of the mineral wealth of India, Archean rocks. So they are rich in ferrous and non-ferrous minerals like iron ore, copper, magnesium, mica, dolomite, lead, zinc, silver and gold. Dharwad system. This is the second system, and it is the Proterozoic formations. So this the geological time scale extends from 2,500 million years ago to 1,800 million years ago for this particular age, the Dharwad system age. And these were the first metamorphized sedimentary rock systems, and they were known as Dharwad system in the Indian geological time scale. So the name Dharwad system was given to this. These were the first metamorphized sedimentary rocks. And in India, these rocks were studied for the first time in Dharwad district of Karnataka, hence the name. And these are largely composed of igneous debris, schist, and gneisses. The Dharwad rock occurs in scattered patches, and so these are the areas where it is found. Dharwad and Bellary districts of Karnataka, and extend up to Nilgiri and Madurai districts of Tamil Nadu. Then central and eastern parts of Chota Nagpur Plateau, Meghalaya Plateau and Mikir Hills. And then the Aravallis, Rialo, Delhi series from Delhi to the south of Alwar. And the Himalayan region, Nilgiris and Madurai district of Tamil Nadu. So these are the areas where it is found, and these are highly metalliferous, so a lot of metal is found in the Dharwad system rocks, and these are rich in iron ore, magnesium, lead, zinc, gold, silver, dolomite, mica, copper, tungsten, nickel and precious stones and building materials. So some of the important series of the Dharwad system are: first is the Champion series. So this belongs to the Dharwadian system, as we know. The series has been named after Champion Reef in the Kolar gold fields. So it lies northeast of Mysore city and to the east of Bangalore. And this series stretches in the Kolar and Raichur districts of Karnataka. So basically gold mines are found in the Champion series. This question is also asked a lot of times. And this is found in the Kolar and Raichur districts of Karnataka. The gold mines are one of the deepest in the world, around 3.5 kilometer depth. And the gold content is around 5.5 grams per ton of ore, so which is a very good quantity of gold to be obtained per ton. Then comes the Chapanir series, and this outlines in the Aravali system in the vicinity of Vadodara. It consists of quartzites, conglomerates, phyllite, slate, and marbles. So basically, slates, marbles, conglomerate, quartzites are found here, and basically a green variety of marble is obtained from this series. So for green marble, remember it is Champaner. Then we come to Clospet series, and this is stretching over Balaghat and Chindigarh districts of Madhya Pradesh, so it is found in central India, and it consists of quartzites, copper pyrite, and magniferous rocks. The Malan's Khand copper plant gets its source from the Clospet series, so this is another question where this copper plant gets its ores, and it is from the Clospet series. Then we have the Chilpi series. So it occupies parts of Balaghat and Chindigarh districts of Madhya Pradesh, again in the same region of Madhya Pradesh. And it consists of grits, phyllite, quartzite, greenstones, and magniferous rocks. So basically, again, then we got the iron ore series, and this occurs in Singhbhum, Bonaj, Mayurbhanj, and Koinjar in the form of a range. And this is a large reserve of iron ore, which is around 65 kilometers in length and has got a reserve of about 3,000 million tons of iron ore. So you can imagine very well that how big this iron ore series is, and hence the name. Then we got the Khondolite series. So Khondolite series occupies the large area of Eastern Ghats from the northerly extremities to the valley of Krishna. So probably this is the area where this series is found. Khondolite series, and the principal rocks are chondolites, kudorites, chalconites, and gneisses. Nothing important here. Then we got the Rialo series. This is also known as the Delhi series, and it extends from Delhi Majnugatila to Alwar, Rajasthan in the northeast and southwest direction, and it is rich in marble. So we know that Makrana and Bhagwanpur are known for high quality marble. So Rialo series is for marble. Sakoli series. Then Sakoli series is stretching from Jabalpur and Rewa districts, and this belongs to the Dharwadian formation, and it is rich in mica, dolomite, schist, and marble. So the marble of this series is superior quality. So if you are asked for superior quality marble, so it is Sakoli. Then we got the Sasor series, and it spreads over Nagpur, Bhandara district of Maharashtra, Chindwara district of Madhya Pradesh. So again, it is somewhere around this region. Suppose this is the map of India. So this is somewhere around this region again, and it belongs to the Dharwadian group and is rich in quartzite, mica, schist, marble, and magniferous rocks. So nothing, not much importance here of this series. Then we come to the Kadapa system or the Purana group. So this was named after the district of Kadapa in Andhra Pradesh, and it is sedimentary metamorphic formations. So this occurs in Kadapa and Kumul districts of Andhra Pradesh. Then we got Chhattisgarh. Then we got Rajasthan, Delhi to the south of Alwar, the lesser Himalayas in the extrapeninsular region. So guys, if you have noticed that most of these series are overlapping, so that is something to be remembered. And then the principal rocks of the Kadapa system are sandstone, shale, limestone, quartzite, slates, inferior quality of iron ore, magnesium ore, asbestos, copper, nickel, cobalt, marble, jasper, building material, and stones for interior decoration. So quite a number of kind of stones are found in the Kadapa system. And the metallic content of the ores of Kadapa rocks are however low and at places uneconomical. So this is mainly for rocks for interior decoration. Then we got the Papagani series belonging to the Kadapa series again, and it is named after Papagani River, Andhra Pradesh, in the valley which these rocks have been exposed, and these consist of quartzite, sandstone, shale, slate, limestone, and marble. And the series is intruded by magma in the form of dikes and sills, which have metamorphized limestone into marble, talc, slate, and serpentine. So basically, it has converted sedimentary rocks into metamorphic rocks. Then we come to the Vindhyan system. So it gets its name from the Vindhyan mountains, and this mountain forms the dividing line between the Ganga plain and the Deccan plateau. So suppose this is Ganga, this is the Deccan plateau, this is the Vindhyan mountains. So around this area is the Vindhyan system formed, and the system covers an extensive area of 103,600 square kilometers from Chittorgarh in Rajasthan to Sasaram in Bihar. So almost all this area is covered, and has enormous sedimentary deposits at places where depth is 4,000 meters, so it goes to around 4 kilometers underground. And some tracks the Vindhyan rocks are buried under Deccan lava. So the Great Boundary Fault GBF separates the Vindhyan system from the Aravallis for a distance of about 800 kilometers. So if Aravallis is here, so this is the Great Boundary Fault, and it separates by 800 kilometers. And this is well known for red sandstone, building material, ornamental stone, etc., glass and chemical industries. In certain places, these rocks yield inferior quality of iron ore and magnesium. Then the well-known diamond and Golconda mines. Now this is important question. So diamond mines of Panna and Golconda lie in the Vindhyan system. So this is something to be remembered. Please make a note of that. And the historical buildings, etc., were all made from the red sandstone. So they were all obtained from the Vindhyan ranges. And these are coarse sandstones and generally used as grindstones and millstones as well. Then we come to the Bhandar series, again under the Vindhyan formation. It spreads to western part of the Vindhyan formation. The main rocks are sandstone, shale and limestone. It provides good quality of building material besides diamond and precious stones. So Vindhyan series, Bhandar series are all diamonds and precious stones. Then we have the Bijwar series, and it is stretching over the district of Chhattarpur and Panna. And this series belongs to again to the Vindhyan system, we know that. It is composed of sandstone, red sandstone and quartzites, and it has basaltic intrusions whose dikes are rich in diamonds. So basically Bhandar, Bijwar and Kaimur series, let's see. So both the Bs, Bhandar and Bijwar in the Vindhyan range are known for diamonds and precious stones. Then we have got the Kaimur series, and this series spreads over Bundelkhand to Baghelkhand, and the main rocks are sandstone, conglomerate and shale, and it is rich in sandstone used in historical monuments. So the red sandstone which is used in the historical monuments is generally from the Kaimur series. Then we come to the Paleozoic group, or the Cambrian to Carboniferous period. So the Paleozoic era includes Ordovician, Silurian, Devonian, Carboniferous and Permian periods. Sometimes this question comes to arrange them in a sequence. So Ordo, Silvo, Devo, Carboniferous and Permian. Just remember Carboniferous is the second last one in this area, and Ordovician is the first one. And this is also known as the Dravidian era in the Indian geological time scale. So the Paleozoic era extends from 570 million years ago to 24.5 million years ago, and it marks the beginning of life on the Earth's surface. So this question also comes sometimes: when did life begin on Earth's surface? And that was in the Paleozoic era. The formation of this period are almost absent in peninsular India except Umera and Rewa. So the first signs of life were found in Umera and Rewa. And these formations exist in Pir Panjal, Handwara, Lidar Valley, Anantnag of Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir, Piti, Kangra, Shimla, Garhwal and Kumaon. So the upper regions of India, this Paleozoic group is found, this area. And it was during this period that Pangaea was broken and Tethys Sea came into existence. The Cambrian rock includes shale, sandstone, clay, quartzite, slate, salts, marble, etc. Paleozoic system in the Indian geological time scale. So the Gondwana formations are fluvial and lacustrine in nature. They are deposited in the river basins and lakes during the Upper Carboniferous period. These basins later subsided along the trough faults amidst ancient rocks of the greater southern continent called Gondwana land. So guys, if you understood this, this is the formation of India when it got attached to the Asian peninsula. So these rocks are formed during the Upper Carboniferous period and Jurassic period of the Mesozoic era. So let's have a look at the Mesozoic era, the Gondwana system. And this is very important as well. So it means middle life. And the term is used for a period of geological time in which the presence of fossils dominated the rocks. So basically this was a time when fossils started to appear in the rocks. So it includes three periods: Triassic, Jurassic and Cretaceous. This question is also often asked to which period these belong. So this belongs to the Mesozoic era. In the Indian geological timescale, these periods extend from Upper Carboniferous up to beginning of Cenozoic era or the Iron era. The Gondwana group begins with the Permo-Carboniferous period, which in a standard geological timescale is known as a period of coal formation. So this was the time when coal started to form. And the lower Gondwana rocks are found in the Talcher, Panchet and Damodar series. So we'll have a look at these series a bit later. Most of the good quality coal deposit, bituminous and anthracite of India are found in Gondwana formation. So coal is generally found in the Gondwana formation. And moreover, iron ore occurs in the ironstone shales of Raniganj coal fields. So iron ore is also found here. In addition to coal and iron, kaolin, fire, clay, sandstone and grits are also found in the Gondwana formation. So Gondwana formation is known for basically coal. So guys, just remember this Gondwana is coal. Then let's have a look at the series. So there is the Talcher series, and this is named after Talcher in Dhankanel district of Orissa, and it is rich in good quality coal used for smelting and thermal power plants. Then we have the Damodar series, belongs to the middle Gondwana period or the Mesozoic age, and it contains enormous deposits of coal seams. Then important coal-bearing period are Raniganj area, Karanpur, Bokaro of the Damodar Basin, Singuri, Korba, Pench Valley of Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Talche, Singneri of Satpura Basin in Madhya Pradesh. These all belong to the Damodar series. Then we have got the Jingurda coal seam, which has a thickness of about 131 meters, in the thickest coal seam in India. This question might come again, make a note of that. Jingurda coal seam. The Gondwana rocks are also found in Himalayas from Kashmir to Arunachal Pradesh in the Purvanchal and Purvanchal. The coal seams of these areas are metamorphized. They are also found in Saurashtra, Kutch, Western Rajasthan, Coromandel and Rajmahal Hills. So basically the Gondwana series or the Mesozoic era age is all coal related. Then we got the Panchet series. It is the youngest series of the Lower Gondwana system, which derives its name from the hills of that of Raniganj. And its series consists of series of greenish sandstones and shales. And this series does not have coal seams, however. So in case this question is asked, which series does not have coal seams in the Gondwana system, that is the Panchet series. They contain inferior quality iron ore, siderite and limonite. And being inferior in quality, they are generally not mined for iron. The Gondwana system of locks provide around over 95% of coal in India. And they provide iron ore, limestone, sandstone and raw material for ceramic industry as well. So the best quality coal in Gondwana system is found in the Damodar Valley of West Bengal, Jharkhand and Mahanadi Valley of Orissa and Chhattisgarh, the Godavari Valley of Andhra Pradesh and the Satpura Basin of Madhya Pradesh. Well, just remember Damodar Valley of West Bengal, Jharkhand, Mahanadi Valley of Orissa, Chhattisgarh, Godavari Valley of Andhra Pradesh and Satpura Basin of Madhya Pradesh. So then we come to the Upper Carboniferous period, or the RN period as known in India. So what are the salient features of the RN formation? So during the Upper Carboniferous period, the Himalayan region was occupied by a vast geosyncline which was connected to Pacific Ocean in the east and through China, and the Atlantic Ocean in the west through Afghanistan, Iran, Asia Minor and the present Mediterranean Sea. This was called the Thet Sea. The area of Kashmir Himalayas from Pir Panjal to Hazara in the northwest and Ladakh in the northeast witnessed violent volcanic activity. Okay. The upper continent of Gondwana land developed fissures and its broken parts started drifting away from each other. Okay. The subcontinent of India drifted towards north and northeast to collide with the Asian landmass Eurasian plate. There was a large-scale eruption of lava in the Deccan Trap. The development and expansion of Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal. The tertiary mountain building gave birth to Himalayas. So this was the time, the Upper Carboniferous period, when Himalayas were formed because of volcanic activity in the upper continent. The subcontinent of India assumed its present shape. So this was the time when India got this shape, basically. The beginning of Ice Age belonging to Pleistocene period, covering large parts of Earth under ice sheets. So the beginning of Ice Age also started during the RN period, or the Upper Carboniferous period. And evolution and spread of man in different parts of the world happened during this age. So Upper Carboniferous period saw quite a few changes in the geography of India as well as that of the Earth. The Cretaceous system, the Deccan Trap. So the Cretaceous period extends from 146 million to 65 million years ago. And it is developed from Latin word creta, meaning chalk. And it is a widely distributed system in the country which has divergent phases of deposit in different parts of India. The period is marked by transgression of sea, Coromandel Coast, Narmada Valley and outpouring of huge quantity of lava so to form the Deccan Trap and intrusion of plutonic rocks such as gabbro and granite. Okay. Towards the end of Cretaceous period, the peninsula was affected by intense volcanic activity. So there was a lot of volcanic activity going on during this period as well. And during this period, enormous quantity of basaltic lava was poured out of the surface, assuming great thickness of over 3000 meters. So this was basically a fissure volcano. And the lava plateau, the Deccan Trap, is a result of lava eruption. It wasn't a violent eruption or anything, as I told you, it was a fissure volcano, the Deccan Trap. And the Deccan lava covers over 5 lakh square kilometers of area of Gujarat, Kutch, Kathiawar, reason for black soil found in these areas, and Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Malwa Plateau, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, northern Andhra Pradesh and northwestern Karnataka, so good for cotton crops. The lava plateau of India Deccan Trap has a maximum thickness of 3000 meters along the coast of Mumbai, from where it decreases towards south and east. Okay. It is about 800 meters in Kutch, 150 meters in Amarnataka. This is where the Damodar river starts, and 60 meters at Belgaum, Karnataka. So, starting of Kaveri river. The individual lava flows on an average has a thickness of about 5 meters to 29 meters. Okay. And this has been identified by boring near Bhusawal, Maharashtra. And these are interbedded with sedimentary beds called intertrap beds. Okay. The basalt of Deccan Trap is used for construction of road and buildings. So what all metals we can find there? Quartz, bauxite, magnetite, agate, and semi-precious stones are found in this trap. And it was also rich in magnesium carbonate, potash, and phosphate. So a lot of minerals are found here. Then we come to the tertiary system, or the Cenozoic era, so which means recent life. And the beginning of the tertiary period is about 66 million years ago. So this is quite recent. And the fossils in these rocks include many types closely related to modern forms, including mammals, plants, and invertebrates. And it's got two periods, the tertiary and the quaternary. Okay. So the two great events that occurred during the tertiary period were the final breaking of old Gondwana continent and the uplift of the Tethys geosyncline in the form of Himalayas. So whatever volcanic activity was going on during this era, it became final. So the Gondwana land finally broke up and the Himalayas started to move upwards, which are still moving upwards today even. During the early tertiary period, as India collided with Tibet, the sediments which had accumulating in the Tethys basin had begun to rise by a slow rise of ocean bottom. So the ocean started to disappear and all the sediments in this area began to rise. The upheaval of the Himalayas altered the whole topography of the subcontinent. So as the Himalayas formed, the topography of the region changed. Now the three phases of upheaval of the Himalayas have been distinguished. So it is basically the three phases. So in the first upheaval, Eocene about 65 million years ago, which culminated in the Oligocene, and it resulted in the upheaval of the Greater Himalayas. So the first upheaval was for the Greater Himalayas, and it happened in the Eocene age, around 65 million years ago. Then the Mid-Miocene period, 45 million years ago, folding of Lesser Himalayas. And the third would be for the Outer Himalayas, which happened about 1.4 million years ago, and it happened in folding of Shivalik. So first went the Upper Himalayas 65 million years ago, then the Middle Himalayas or the Lesser Himalayas around 45 million years ago, and 1.4 million years ago we had the Shivaliks folding up. So in the peninsular region, the tertiary system occurred on the coast of Kutch, Kathiawar, Konkan, Malabar, Nilgiris, and Eastern Ghats. So we come to the Quaternary period and the Pleistocene and the recent formations after that. And this is a name proposed for various recent deposits which contain fossils of species with living representatives. So this basically contains species. Fossils are of species which are still alive, non-extinct. And the northern plains of India came into existence during the Pleistocene period. So the northern plains came of age during this period, as we have seen in the last period. Basically all this was being formed, and during the Quaternary period the ice sheet descended to as low as 1500 meters in altitude. So the ice age has started to melt, and the great Indo-Gangetic Brahmaputra plain had not figured at all till this period. So it started forming. The bottom configuration of this plain occupying largely a synclinal basin called Fold Deep, which is down warp of the Himalayan foreland of variable depth, form concomitancy with the rise of Himalayas to the north. So as the Himalayas were being formed, this area became a synclinal basin. Basically, Ganga started flowing through here, and it is also marked by ice age and glaciation on a large scale in the northern hemisphere. So the ice age was still on. The Moran deposit and Karewa formation of Kashmir Valley and Bhadarwa Doda district of Jammu and district are of Pleistocene age. It forms the terraces of Jhelum on the flank of Pir Panchal. The thickness of Karewas at places are up to 1400 meters. Then we got the river terraces of Narmada, Tapi, Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri were also belonging to this period. So this was the basically all during the last three periods the formation of India really took place. Then we come to Karewas, and these are lacustrine deposits from the Pleistocene period, and they consist of sand, clay, loam, silt and boulders. So the Karewas of Kashmir, as I told you before, and they are found along the lower slopes of Pir Panjal which dip towards the Kashmir Valley. The Pampore and Pulwama Karewas are well known for cultivation of saffron, almond and walnuts. So Pampore and Pulwama are basically known for these three: saffron, almonds and walnuts. So guys, this brings us to the end of the Structure of India video, and I hope you have liked it. And guys, if you haven't understood it, just leave a comment and I'll try to answer it over there. So thank you very much for watching and have a nice day.